And welcome back to another episode of PC 419, where we are looking at the AMD 5600 XT from Sapphire. All right, so let's talk about the specs of the 5600 XT. So this gaming card here is mainly based for 1080p. It can handle some 1440p games, but what I've been really gaming on this is 1080p, getting the average of 70 to 130 frames per second on some titles, which you guys will see that very soon in the benchmarks and in the gaming results as well. But let's go through some of the specs and have a look at see what this actually has, particularly on the spec sheet. So the engine clock has a boost clock of up to 1750 megahertz and has a game clock of up to 1615 megahertz. The game clock is an expected GPU clock when it's running typical gaming applications. So depending on the TDP it pulls, it will bring up the megahertz itself. So the stream processor has 2304. The memory size bus is 6 gig and also has a 192-bit GDDR6 in there as well. The memory clock is 14 gigabits per second. So the maximum displays it can put on there, it's got one HDMI and it's got one HDMI and then it has 3 display ports. So HDMI resolution can go up to 4K at 60 Hertz, and then display 1.4 can go 5120 by 2880 at 60 Hertz as well. PCI interface has Express 4.0. The BIOS support has dual UEFI BIOS support. So this thing here, as I mentioned before, it does have dual BIOSes on here. So it's got a little flick switch on here for low TDP, and then it has another flick switch here for high TDP. And for cooling, so it's got a dual X cooling. It has dual fans, 2 ball bearings. So the form factor is a 2.3 slot ATX form factor. It has a power consumption up to 160 watts. And from that side there, that is mainly what this card can actually really do. So it has got pretty much some good features. The 5600 XT is pretty much going up against the 1660 Ti and 2060. When you go to the RX 5700 XT, that's where it's in between a 2070 and a 2070 Super. So this card here basically is the lower tier card for AMD, but it can handle some AAA titles. Like I've been testing here. Like I said, it's been going for between 80 to 120 frames per second on some AAA titles. Some of the older titles, 2-3 years generation ago, it can go well above 150 FPS, which is still a good thing for this card. But my main focus for this card really is going to be for the 1080p gaming, MOBA, esports, and everything else from that. But what we'll do now, we'll continue on. What I'm going to do is go through all the benchmarks, and we're going to go through the gaming, some of the gaming readouts that I had on here. And it's pretty impressive in a few games we actually played, but I'll let you guys decide on that in the comments below. So let's get that rolling. Now, what is the 5600 XT really made for, and what sort of game it is, and sort of performance you're looking at the same time? So the 5600 XT is primarily looking at which I personally think is only a 1080p gaming. You can do some 1440p gaming, but primarily what it's focused on is 1080p. And what also can do as well, it does have a dual BIOS on this. So we'll look at some of the key features now, and then we'll go through some B-roll and have a look at the full specifications of the actual graphics card, what it's capable of doing, and then some gaming at the same time, and then my final thoughts. But looking at some of the key features that 5600 actually has got is up to 750 megahertz boost clock. Now this is running at 6 gig DDR6 memory and also at 192 bits. Now this does have AMD's 7 nanometer process GPU in here at the same time. It also has 2304 stream processors. Also running the dual X cooling technologies. So it's got 2 fans on here and also has fan quick connect. So before we move forward, what I want to look at and talk about first is Sapphire's features and also AMD features on this as well. So we're talking the GPU side here. So from Sapphire's features itself, there's a few on the list here we're going to go through. So it does have its own power design, also has its own free flow design as well. It's got Tri-XX support, also with Tri-XX boost as well, which means that it will boost up and overclock where it's supposed to with intelligent fan control at the same time. It also has precision fan control, so it will precisely boost the RPM on the fans, particularly on whatever you set the fan curve at, to make sure that you are getting efficiency power and also to efficiency cooling when required. It also has a robust VRM cooling, robust memory cooling at the same time, has dual X controlling technology, has a tough metal backplate on the back of the card itself. Also has dual PCB layers. It's got two ball bearing fans on the actual fans itself. Has fan quick connect. Has fuse protection, so it will protect the GPU as much as possible. If you happen to have a blackout or a short through the PC, it will try and protect the graphics card as much as possible. And also has that dual BIOS design as well, which gives you a flick switch here on the graphics card for a low TDP with low fan control, and then a high TDP gives you more overclock with higher fan control at the same time. So now let's talk about the AMD features here. So obviously this is a 5600 XT from AMD. So it's got the RDNA architecture. It's got the second gen 7nm GPU as well. It is running GDDR6 memory in this graphics card. It's got a power efficiency. It is PCI 4.0 support. So running an X570 board like we're running here, we are utilizing its full potential with PCI 4.0. It's also got video streaming up to 8K, which I'm not sure how much of that will last, but you know, being a 5600 XT, it should still do it, but I don't think the raw horsepower out of the 5600 would actually be able to produce that. Then you've got your display 1.4, and then you've got Radeon software, you've got Radeon Boost. So this is all in the Radeon software itself. You've got Radeon image sharpening, Radeon anti-lag as well, and then you've got the AMD fidelity at the same time. You've got async compute, and then what the best thing about this as well, it's got Radeon FreeSync to HDR. So if you've got a monitor that can actually handle FreeSync, FreeSync to HDR, this card will be able to handle it for you and give you the best possible graphics as for your screen, and obviously best for your graphics card and your PC at the same time. So what are your thoughts on those benchmark results? Let me know in the comments below. Is this the card for you? Now, for a card that's worth about $549 Australian, that's the average price going for our retailers at the moment, and it's the current date for today. It's a well-balanced card. Even playing, you know, I've got 2070s, 2080 Supers, I've got 2080 Ti's. This card here for 1080p gaming, I am running at 144 Hertz as well. It has been a card that is going to be say that if you are still playing some of the old AAA titles, or you are playing a lot of MMOs, or you're playing pretty much just, like I said, it's really depends what you're gaming with it, and it's you've got to see it from perspective from going from the 5600 to the 5700 XT. Is it really that big gap you're going to get? So 5700 XT is more focused on 1440p gaming, to a sense. The 5600 XT, I'm going to say I would literally base it on just 1080p gaming. So if you've got a 1080p monitor and you want to get between that 90 to 140 frames per second on some of the later AAA titles, some of the old AAA titles and you know, MMO games or esports games, you'll get an average of 150 to 200 FPS easy on those. So you have no problems whatsoever. Even in RTS games as well. RTS games are handled really, really well. So I played a bit of StarCraft on this as well. Total War, handled it, not a problem at all. The only issue I had with this card, particularly when I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, during the cutscenes, it will dip down to about 30 to 50 FPS. But then as soon as it goes back into the game, it will go up to 90, between 80 and 90. That's where I hovered around to, and that was from low to medium settings as well. But Assassin's Creed Odyssey does pull, does pull a bit of GPU power, and for what I can see from here, between 80 to 90 FPS on that game itself, I was pretty satisfied on the screen as well. So have no issues whatsoever with that card playing those sort of games. But I did try a few other games as well. But for me particularly, if I had to choose between the two in regarding to, if we're going to say game for AMD, I'd probably spend maybe the extra $300 or $200 getting a 5700 XT just to get a bit more horsepower, even if you are still playing on 1080p, and eventually do upgrade to a 1440, which is going to be the new standard from 2020 to 2021. People will start adapting to the 1440p gaming. I've been using this for a while. I've had 1440p screens for years now at the moment, and I probably couldn't go back to 1080p. When I do benchmark on 1080p, specifically for these cards, it does give me a bit of a drawback in saying what you are really missing out on. So if you can afford to purchase a 1440p screen, make sure that the GPU or the graphics card you get is suited for the monitor as well. Because one thing you got to remember is at the same time, when you're buying a PC, the last thing I do skimp out on is the monitor and possibly the graphics card, depending on what really you can afford at that time. The monitor is always in front of you. It's the thing you look at every single day. If you're doing work, if you're doing gaming or whatever it is, even just YouTubing, this is in front of you every single day. So when I went out and spent all this money on monitors, these are PG 279Qs. So at that time there, they retail for about $1,500 each. One thing I wanted to make sure of that, one, I wanted a triple monitor setup. I did have a 34-inch, which I sold and got one of these instead, and I ended up buying up the 2. Is because it's in front of your face every day. You need to make sure that what you're looking at is visually aspect and also can handle the horsepower that you're currently running at the same time. But a lot of people out there will just go and buy any other monitor and just to say, all right, well, I'll buy this card, I'll spend, $550 on this video card, but I'm going to go spend, $150, $200 on a monitor. And then when they go and play it, like, oh, well, it's not really what I want. I can't see the vibrance of the color. I'm still running at 60 Hertz. What's the issue here? It could be the video card. It's no good. But 9 out of 10, it ain't the video card that's the issue. It's the actual monitor people purchase. So always be mindful when you're purchasing a new card that the monitor is going to be your next best thing to get as well. Bar from having your total PC here that can actually run the game that you want to run the game properly, if you're going to go from low to medium or medium to high. But you need to make sure that what's in front of you, what's in here, I should say, can handle the horsepower to produce it on the screen. But if you're running a low-end monitor, don't expect to have, the gaming experience that you like or the gaming experience you see on other YouTubers or reviewers or influencers out there or on Twitch, because 9 out of 10, they've actually got a really good monitor. Some don't, and just be happy with it. But if you're playing FPS games, 100 Hertz plus is probably gonna be the minimum. The 120 to 144, the 165 now is gonna be pretty much the standard of today. But if you're playing on 60 Hertz now, and you're buying this video card and you think, oh shit, you'll find that there's an issue here where, stuttering or there's a problem with it, well then no. All you gotta do is you have to make sure that the monitor is suited for the GPU as well. But going back to the graphics card now, for a $549 card, 1080p gaming with a good monitor, doesn't have to be really expensive as long as, you get AMD FreeSync as well. So if you get a FreeSync monitor, you are going to get the capabilities of that. But also too, you need to make sure that you need to have at least 120, 144 Hertz monitor to enjoy FPS gaming. RTS gaming you can handle on 60. So if you're playing, example like World of Warships, like a game I actually really love playing, you don't need to go 144 Hertz or 120 Hertz. If you're playing a lot of RTS games, a lot of MOBA games, 60 Hertz is still fair enough. But if you are going for some FPS games, or even third person, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example, then yes, I would say go for at least 144 Hertz. So do try and bring your budget up a little bit more and get as much possible as you can. If you're wondering, say example, a system spec out, which I just did. If you look at my last video for my Twitch video, so I built a $2,100 gaming rig, which was with a 2070 RTX. But if you had to remove $500 out of that, I can bring it down to $1,500 and then probably spend another $500 on a monitor and still come up with the same price. And you may be just off spec off that. So this is currently here running it as a 3700X. So we did have a bit of performance boost on this, but I have played games on both. And I actually had this card in my 3600X as well system. And the performance difference is very minimal. So you don't need to go and spend a lot of money on that particularly. So if you're looking at that, just be mindful of what you're buying and what you're paying for. I can do a lot more videos on example, if you guys wanted to have a comments in below. So on a low spec machine, a mid tier, and then a high tier, and then give you guys an indication on which way to go. And then it gives you guys the options on which, you might not need a higher end CPU, or go a lower end CPU, but so forth. But we can work that out as well. So let me know in the comments below if you do guys need that. But guys, that is the end of the video. I'd like to thank Sapphire for sending out the 5600 XT to PC 419 Studio. Hope you guys are enjoying it as well. And I hope you guys do enjoy all the videos. All our descriptions will be in the comments below for our social media and everything that happens with PC 419 as well. So do stay tuned for that. Join our Discord. And guys, guess what? I'll see you in the next one.